Good day, this is the Green Mage. I speak simply and accessibly about the complex and sometimes incomprehensible. Today about the 7 bodies of a human. The 7 bodies of a human is a very important topic and provides answers to many questions, so it will be useful to study it again after some time. To better understand our topic of discussion today, it is necessary to recall 2 facts. The first point is that our universe is infinite and boundless. We are fundamentally unable to comprehend the scale of the cosmos, and here are a few pieces of evidence. Theory of the expanding universe. Modern cosmology states that the universe has been constantly expanding since the Big Bang. We do not see the edge of the universe. We can only observe the part from which light has had time to reach us during its existence, the so-called observable universe. Cosmic event horizon. There is a so-called cosmic horizon, the boundary beyond which objects are receding from us faster than the speed of light due to the expansion of space. Everything beyond this horizon is forever inaccessible for observation and study, even in theory. Limit of telescope resolution. Even the most powerful telescopes can only see up to a certain distance, limited by the age of the universe and the absorption of light by intergalactic dust. Beyond this limit lies unexplored space. The second point is the limitations of our senses, namely sight. The human eye perceives only a narrow range of the electromagnetic spectrum, visible light, approximately 400 to 700 nanometers. For example, we cannot see ultraviolet or infrared radiation. Hearing. We hear within the range of 20 to 20,000 hertz, but cannot detect ultrasound or infrasound, which many animals can hear. Taste. There are only 5 basic tastes: bitter, sweet, sour, salty, umami, while millions of substances and complex mixtures remain beyond our discrimination. Touch. We do not feel microscopic particles, radiation, magnetic fields, and sometimes even a light movement of air goes unnoticed. Smell. Humans can distinguish about 10,000 odors, but, for example, dogs can detect tens of thousands of times more. Movement. We cannot perceive the position of our body with perfect accuracy. In a dark space, we easily lose our sense of orientation, while some animals navigate with amazing precision. Balance. Humans become disoriented in weightlessness or complex rotations, whereas animals, for example, birds, are often much more stable. Interoception. We do not feel most of the processes and changes occurring inside the body, for example, asymptomatic diseases. Even with 8 senses, humans perceive only a tiny part of the boundless universe around us. We see, hear, and feel only what the instruments of our body allow. Most processes and phenomena of the universe remain beyond our perception. After becoming familiar with what has been said above, it will be easier to realize and imagine that, in addition to our physical world, there are also other layers of reality. Subtle worlds. Our dense physical world is only one layer of our multi-layered universe. The physical world, which we are able to perceive thanks to our 8 senses, is only a part, a very small part, of the vast number of layers in our boundless universe. The physical world was not created first. The physical world is the result, the most perceivable clear substrate, the cherry on top, the quintessence of the transformation of the other layers of reality into the specific form that surrounds us. Subtle worlds. Atmic, Atmic, Budhic, Causal, mental, Astral, Etheric, physical. If in our physical material world, all other worlds from 2 to 7 are considered subtle, then, for example, in the etheric world is dense, physical, that is, It is felt physically there, while the other worlds are subtle. And so it goes in each world. Subtle worlds were originally created so as not to interfere with each other. Each subtle world is permeated with its own laws, scenarios, and spaces. Each subtle world has its own layer, its own shell, and therefore subtle worlds do not all interact with each other directly, but at the same time they strongly influence the adjacent world. Everything that happens to our material body is a consequence of what happens to our subtle bodies in other subtle worlds, in those worlds that we do not see. The subtle bodies are named according to the principle of the subtle worlds. Subtle worlds are usually counted from the bottom up, starting with the material one. Each of our bodies is located at a certain distance from each other. The etheric body is 1 to 2 centimeters from the skin of your physical body, then the astral body up to 50 centimeters, and so on. However, it is impossible to establish exact distances here due to the multidimensionality of space. For simplicity of understanding, let's consider the arrangement of human bodies in two-dimensional space. A more accurate diagram looks like this. Each of the bodies exists on its own subtle plane, its own subtle world, and is connected to the physical body by invisible threads. Do you remember our first lecture about the levels of spiritual development? We said that a human equals eternal spirit plus soul plus physical body. Follow the link in the video description and watch the video about the levels of spiritual development. Now we will deepen and structure our knowledge. The soul is mental, astral, etheric. The soul is also called the so-called lower self. When we talk about the soul, we are referring to these 3 subtle bodies of a person: mental, astral, and etheric. When we talk about the spirit, we are referring to the next 3 subtle bodies of a person. The spirit is Atmic, Atmic, Budhic, Causal. Spirit is the higher self. The Atmic, Budhic, and Causal bodies are called the divine plane. Everything is interconnected. All our worlds and bodies are interconnected. The causes of diseases of the physical body must be sought in the subtle bodies of a person, just as the health of the physical body has its foundation in the subtle bodies. Let's talk in more detail about each of the bodies. Physical, the most studied world. To understand the physical body, study anatomy. To understand the physical world, study physics, chemistry, zoology, geography. We will not dwell on this for long and will move on to the second body. Etheric. The body of life forces, the lowest and densest layer in the system of subtle bodies. This is our biological spacesuit, a protective shell, the aura. All information about the physical structure of our body is contained in the etheric shell. The etheric body serves as a conductor of energy, the energy of the earth, divine energy that is both ascending and descending flows. The etheric body almost repeats the contours of our physical body, and with certain experience, one can learn to see the etheric body. All matter comes from a primary substance, the luminiferous ether. Nikola Tesla. Dwarfism or gigantism, or any physical deviations, all of this originates from the etheric body. To heal, for example, poor physical sensitivity of the body, you should first correct or remove the block from the etheric body. Our etheric body leaves an etheric trace, a print of a person's state, which transmits this state to anyone who has the misfortune to run into this imprint. When we touch a wall, whether we want it or not, we leave our etheric trace there, a snapshot of our etheric state at that moment. Imagine you haven't seen your beloved person, relative, or friend for a long time, and in a wonderful mood you hug them. In essence, you exchange energy through the etheric trace. In general, it is necessary to hug people who are pleasant to you at least 8 times a day, those with whom you want to exchange energy using your etheric body, those you feel drawn to. This tactile contact is simply necessary and very beneficial. If you hug someone you like while in a good mood, you basically infect this person with your energy, mood, and a part of yourself. That's why, when you see someone in a bad mood or a negative state, try not to come into contact with such people. You have probably noticed how in public transport or hospitals, you intuitively don't want to sit down even if there are free seats or to touch handrails. This is because there is a negative etheric imprint left there. You enter in a good mood, touch something or sit down, and suddenly you feel drained. Your energy is gone. Has this ever happened to you? Another example. Say you regularly visit a cafe or restaurant where you enjoy your favorite dish from the chef. But today the chef is on vacation and the owner has assigned another cook who is unhappy about it and in an irritated state. You order your usual dishes hoping to enjoy your meal, but when they bring them out, something feels off, even though they're made by the same recipe. You no longer want to eat. The etheric imprint is simply different. A lack of energy is immediately reflected on a person's face. Diseases of the etheric body include eczema or psoriasis. If you photograph the faces of two people, one energetic, the other depleted, you might not notice any difference in the photo. But in real life, if you look, the person without energy seems to have a gray or pale face, and this is very noticeable, while an energetic face will have a healthy blush. Our medicine only treats the consequences in the physical body, but the cause needs to be found and corrected in the etheric body. Nutrition. Each of our bodies needs food, nourishment. Each body is nourished in its own way. Fresh greens, berries, sprouted wheat, vegetables, nuts, foods that contain vital energy, support and nourish the etheric body. It is also necessary to get rid of your own old etheric trace. Every morning after waking up, you should straighten or change your sheet, fluff your pillow, and smooth out your blanket, neatly making your bed. This helps remove yesterday's etheric trace, especially if you were ill or in a bad mood. If you don't want to do this, imagine as if you are erasing yesterday's etheric trace from your sleeping place with fire for 2 to 3 minutes, but it's better to completely make your bed anew. Daily care for your things is very important. They need to be washed, ironed, and folded neatly in a timely manner. This is not just your mom's obsession, but above all an essential ritual for health. The next subtle body is Astral. In the astral subtle world, the main parameter is the state, emotion. The astral body can also be called the emotional body. The emotional body not only absorbs emotions, but also emits them. We feel better when we hear someone's laughter, and worse when we hear someone's arguments, rudeness, a child crying, etc. By expressing emotions, we vibrate at a certain frequency because each emotion has a frequency that can be measured. In the astral world, we can conventionally distinguish 3 types of emotions, with which a certain layer of the astral plane is saturated or nourished. Upper astral, positive emotions. Middle astral, neutral emotions. Lower astral, negative emotions. Positive emotions are high vibrational manifestations, freedom, love, happiness, Optimism. This is the most powerful fuel, the energy for higher beings. Angels. Guardian angels. The Creator. Neutral emotions. Detachment, apathy, indifference. Neutral is zero. There is no energy there. In the lower astral, the main fuel is uncontrolled negative emotions. Every time you are dissatisfied with yourself, irritated, arguing, quarreling, blaming, conflicting, and not realizing it, you feed and give your energy to representatives of the lower astral. Your energy is drained and pumped out. These can be larvae astral parasites. Larvae is a primitive entity in the subtle world, similar in its level of development to the simplest organisms and plants of our world. A larvae is an incorporeal parasite spirit that feeds on a person's biofield and consumes their bioenergy. A bit later, I will upload a separate video about entities, but for now our topic is the human body. So, the key skill for an adequate person and for managing the distribution of energy in the astral world is calmness. The ability to realize which emotion you are currently using, to feel it and let it go. To choose your own frequency of emotions and direct your emotional energy towards it. Everyone has their own path, their own set of individual experiences and level of spiritual development. But if you are above the yellow level of spiritual development, you should strive for the experience of prolonged high vibrational states. And the longer your positive emotions last, the more likely the universe is to respond to you, because by radiating a wave of positive emotions you attract to your side as your allies, the most powerful energy at the divine frequency. By the way, about levels of spiritual development, key information can be found in the link in the video description about the levels of spiritual development. Working with negative emotions. Awareness of the emotion, then experiencing the emotion, then conscious choice of the next emotion. The process of growth always begins with diagnosis and awareness. Recognize where this emotion came from, for what reasons, then briefly experience it, feel it, and thank the universe for this experience. Say out loud that you are grateful for what you have gone through and now you are letting it go. Then set yourself a direction, who you want to be and what emotions you want to experience, and make a conscious choice in favor of that preference. Transitioning from the lower astral will take time and gradual movement toward the upper astral. Imagine that you are a huge cruise ship and you need to turn it around. To do this safely, you need to turn the wheel just a few degrees and slowly. Without capsizing the vessel, turn at a safe, slow speed. This will take time. Be prepared for this. The astral plane greatly affects the etheric body. Falling under the power of negative emotions slows down energy and weakens the etheric body. It becomes harder for a person to receive vital forces. Emotions directly affect our vital energy. And conversely, with positive emotions comes more strength and energy. Mental. Consciousness, subconsciousness, mental picture of the world. The body of the mind, where thought forms and memories of events are stored, and where mental blocks and personal beliefs are formed. The mental body forms an individual prism of perception. For example, if you ask people, how many times can you jump up in 30 seconds? Record their answers, and then conduct a practical experiment. The results of theory and practice will differ. This is because each person's mental body imposes its own perception. Some underestimate themselves, others overestimate, and this happens in all areas of life. It is very important to periodically compare your perception with reality and make adjustments regarding your abilities and your path. The mental body is a vast database of individual information that is constantly in motion, working both when we are awake and when we sleep. The mental body is like a perpetual motion machine. Like a nuclear reactor, it is constantly transforming, updating memory cells, and assembling these cells into different puzzles. Mental body is consciousness, which we control, and subconsciousness, which we do not control, but which works for us. Working with your subconscious, being able to extract root causes and beliefs from it and correctly adjust them for your own benefit is a lifelong process. The mental body directly influences our astral body. If you think about something negative or fearful, these thoughts begin to seep into our emotional, astral body, resulting in a decrease in emotional frequency. As we have already discussed, the astral body then affects the etheric body, and the etheric body affects the physical body. For example, a person imagines that there might be a robber in a dark alley or on the street. These thoughts from the mental body pass into the astral body. Fear arises, fear weakens the etheric body, and as a result, the person physically hunches over in anticipation of an attack. But in reality, there was no threat at all. It is very important to properly nourish and feed your mental body, meeting new and interesting people, experiencing more aesthetics, order, and taste. These are what give energy and new information to the mental body. Consistently develop yourself, improve, savor good and pleasant sensations, and your set of thoughts, that is, your mentality, will also improve. New combinations of thoughts, ideas, hobbies, and as a result, you will experience more positive emotions. The astral body will reach higher frequencies and will strengthen and reinforce the etheric body, which will transmit renewed energy to the physical body. Everything is interconnected, whether you realize it or not. Next body. Causal. The body of current and future events cause and affect relationships, karma. This body is connected with the quantum space in which all possible realities of a person exist. To better understand that there can be several realities, it is worth getting acquainted with the physical term. Wave. Particle duality is a fundamental concept of quantum physics, stating that all matter and light possess both wave-like and particle-like properties. Particles, such as electrons, can behave like waves, while waves, such as light, can behave like particles. Photons. For example, light exhibits wave properties in phenomena such as diffraction and interference, but shows particle properties in the photoelectric effect. In essence, light is both a particle and a wave at the same time. Thus, we now live in a reality where science, in particular physics, explains spiritual and esoteric concepts. The causal body sees all events in advance, controls quantum transitions, and even jumps between realities. If a negative event might happen to a person, and they might fall into a branch of reality that does not allow their spirit to gain the necessary experience, the causal body will do everything possible to change preceding events in order to avoid the undesirable or negative event. Here are a few examples of similar events. Violet Jessup, 3-time survivor on ocean liners, stewardess and nurse. In 1911, she was on board the RMS Olympic when it collided with a military ship. The vessel was badly damaged but did not sink, and Violet survived. In April 1912, Violet was working on the Titanic. On the night of the disaster, she helped passengers put on life jackets, then ended up in a lifeboat and survived. In 1916, she served on board the hospital ship Britannic, which struck a mine in the Aegean Sea. Violet jumped overboard and survived again, although she suffered a head injury. Martin de Jong twice avoided boarding planes that crashed. Dutch professional cyclist Martin de Jong was supposed to fly on 2 Malaysia Airlines flights in 2014. March 2014, he was planning to take flight MH370 from Kuala Lumpur, but found a cheaper ticket for another flight and did not board the plane, which later disappeared. July 2014, he was again supposed to fly on flight MH17 from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur, but due to changes in his schedule, he switched to another flight. MH17 was shot down. The causal body creates a sequence of events for a person so that it is comfortable for them to follow their mission and destiny. The causal body works directly with our mental body, consciousness, and subconsciousness. Axiom: our mental body must receive answers to all its questions. And for this, the mental body often turns to the causal body to get an answer from outside. First, our consciousness answers the questions, and for the remaining questions, the subconscious asks the causal body, "Show me how to get clear answers through events." For example, if a student has only one exam left and has learned only part of the exam questions, and the night before he asks his mental body, "I need to get the minimum passing grade tomorrow to close out the semester. How will I do it?" Then on the day of the exam, either he gets lucky and gets the question he studied, or the teacher says that something important has come up and needs to finish quickly, so he gives a passing grade to everyone who wants it. Or the student finds mutual acquaintances with the teacher and gets a passing grade that way. It doesn't matter exactly which option will happen, but it will happen. Or, for example, with young parents, when the wife is on maternity leave and family expenses increase, the husband realizes he needs to earn more. He asks himself how to make more money to cover the family's needs, and then, seemingly out of nowhere, an opportunity appears. Maybe a wholesale client shows up, or a new acquaintance leads to a lucrative job offer, or an old debt is suddenly repaid, and so on. The causal body sees all possible scenarios and brings the necessary one into this reality. A very useful recommendation, a cool life hack, be in the question. You don't need to look for an answer to the question. Our subconscious mind and the causal flow will find the answer themselves. Say aloud, "How can it get even better than this?" With this unanswered question, we use our mind to make the causal body work and stimulate the process of shifting one of the quantum reality options into our reality. There is such a concept as realization power. The degree of influence your desire has on the materialization of the desired event. This definition is a related concept, close in meaning to the term astral cliché. You can learn more about this by following the link in the upper right corner or in the description and watching a video about how to achieve your most ambitious desires, dreams, goals. And you'll learn how realization power works. Budhic, the body of values. It contains 4 sectors: unbreakable values, unbreakable taboos, Changeable values. Changeable taboos. All values from all spheres of life are recorded in the Budhic body. Changeable taboos and values are a set of relatively flexible beliefs and moral principles, those parts that may change over time depending on life experience, moving to another country or culture, or due to force majeure circumstances. For example, as a young woman, someone got a tattoo, but when she became a married adult woman, she realized it was a mistake, and neither she nor her husband and children wanted to see this awkward tattoo that no longer matched her current status and life role. So she had it removed. Her values changed to the opposite. Unbreakable taboos and values, on the other hand, are embedded as axioms and are not even subject to theoretical discussion. These unbreakable taboos and values are baggage from past incarnations and ancestral family scenarios. You can learn more about the clan by following the link in the upper right corner or in the description and watching a video about the clan and the clan system. For example, a person may be good at playing cards or backgammon, but if someone suggests playing for money, he will categorically refuse without explanation and leave. The idea of gambling for money has become his unbreakable taboo, because in past incarnations or through a relative, he or his family lost everything by gambling and destroyed their happy families, or perhaps even ended up in debt slavery. Unbreakable values and taboos are given in order to fulfill one's mission or destiny, and deviation from or violation of these values or taboos threatens to disrupt the fulfillment of this mission. In fact, it threatens to disrupt the plans of the universe itself. Atmic, the body of experience. There are 7 different levels of experience that must be filled over many incarnations, and it does not matter how this experience is gained, whether through ease or through difficulties. You can learn more about the 7 levels of experience, that is, the 7 levels of spiritual development, by following the link to the video in the description. It determines a person's mission in a specific incarnation. In essence, it is the divine plan of the universe for our own benefit and growth. Our entire reality is built depending on which clusters of experience a person needs to fill. Values and taboos come in accordance with these clusters of experience. Values and taboos influence which particular branch of reality we live through and which events occur. The branch of reality and events provide information, answers for the mental body. The mental body influences the emotions we experience. Emotions determine frequencies and affect the state of the etheric body. The etheric body determines our physical appearance. The causal body selects events for us, usually new ones, which will be unexpected for us, because this will lead to a new version of ourselves, that is, to the experience needed by the spirit. Therefore, you should not be afraid of change or the destruction of your old, familiar world. A new world will come through new experience, and for that, the old and ordinary must be destroyed. Looking back, we realize that any, even the most negative, event is necessary precisely so that we end up here and now at this point. Remember that there is a divine plan, and everything that happens to you is so that you can become the best version of yourself.